He told me I was just a wife, so I took everything I built and left him with the labels. Please stay with me as I tell my story. And please, do not forget to support our channel by subscribing to our channel, liking our videos, and sharing your loved one. Your support means the world to us. Now to our story. You're just a wife. You wouldn't understand. That sentence didn't come after a fight. He didn't shout it. He didn't even flinch. He said it calmly, while scrolling through his phone, not even looking up at me. Like it was a fact. Like I was stupid for asking a question about the marketing budget, something I had helped build from scratch. I stood there frozen. We had just finished dinner. I had cooked it, cleaned up, and in between, I'd been coordinating a supplier issue over email. For his company, the company we built together. Well, he got the credit. I stayed in the background, mostly because I believed in us. Believed in him. I did the research. The outreach. I helped name the brand. I was there, boxing orders in our garage while he played CEO. I didn't mind. Not back then. But that night after those words, just a wife, something inside me broke. Or maybe something inside me woke up. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I smiled. I told him I was tired and went to bed early. But I didn't sleep. I opened my laptop and started digging. I downloaded every document, invoice, and contract I had touched. I saved every email where I had made key decisions. I pulled up old text messages where we talked about splitting shares when the time is right. Guess what? The time was now. For the next few weeks, I played the perfect wife. I smiled, made coffee, booked appointments, kissed him goodbye when he left for meetings. Meetings that wouldn't exist if it weren't for me. And every night, I backed up more files, made more notes, spoke to a lawyer under a different name. I found out that my name wasn't officially on the company. Not surprising. What was surprising was how much leverage I actually had. See, he thought being just a wife meant I was powerless. He forgot that I knew the back end of his business better than he did. I knew where the money came from. I knew the investors. I knew who'd side with me when the truth came out. So I smiled a little more. Until one day I didn't. That morning, I left the keys, the ring, and a flash drive on the kitchen counter. By the time he came home, his company had a legal war on its hands, and I wasn't his wife anymore. I was his competitor. We started with nothing. No investors. No business plan. Just two people and a dream crammed into a tiny apartment with a leaky faucet and a secondhand coffee machine. We ate ramen most nights, worked on the floor because we didn't have a desk, and lived off whatever freelance work I could find while he focused on the big picture. He had the ideas, the passion, the charisma. I had the spreadsheets, the strategy, the plan. He was the face, I was the engine. I handled customer service, supplier outreach, inventory tracking, bookkeeping, social media, and branding, all from my laptop, usually at 2 a.m. while he slept on the couch, exhausted from pitching. But I believed in him. I believed in us. I quit my steady job 6 months in because he said we were close to breaking. I pulled out the last of my savings to cover packaging costs when we couldn't make rent. I smiled when he took credit in interviews because, well, what mattered was that we were doing it together. Right? Wrong. The shift was slow, almost invisible at first. When the investors showed up, he introduced me as his wife instead of his co-founder. I let it slide. When he told a podcast host he built it solo, I gave him a look. He shrugged. They don't care about the behind-the-scenes stuff, he said. It's just marketing. But behind the scenes was all me. He started making big decisions without asking. He hired people I had trained and promoted them above me. He told me I was being emotional when I brought it up. Then one night, while laughing over wine, he said it. Technically, your name's not on anything anyway. He meant it as a joke. I laughed, but it stuck. My name wasn't on anything. Not the LLC. Not the brand trademark. Not the contracts I negotiated. I had built this company with him, but I was invisible on paper. The only title I had was wife. And slowly, I realized that's all he wanted me to be. A background character in his success story. Someone to clap for him while he soaked in the applause. He started referring to himself as self-made. Said it like a badge of honor. As if I hadn't been right there, step for step, building every damn brick of that so-called empire. He erased me from the story. But I'm writing a new one now, where I'm no longer silent. Where I'm no longer just the wife. Where I take it all back. He loved calling me things. Wife. Support system. The reason he kept going. Words that sounded sweet on the surface, but started to taste bitter over time. Because while he was out there smiling for cameras and shaking hands at networking events, I was at home, building schedules, fixing vendor mistakes, talking his staff down from quitting, and making sure his empire didn't collapse under its own ego. But all I ever got in return were labels. Homemaker, organizer, helper, never partner, never equal, never owner. The first time I asked about setting up an official role for myself, one with a salary, a title, he smiled like I was being silly. You don't need a title, he said. Everyone knows you run things behind the scenes. Behind the scenes. That was his favorite phrase. It's also where he wanted me to stay. When I started pressing about finances, about our stake in the company, about how the credit cards were maxed out, but the office just got a redesign, I got my first taste of gaslighting. You're being paranoid. You're too emotional. You always do this when you're stressed. No, I did it when I noticed money disappearing. I did it when I saw the way his assistant flinched at my name. I did it when he stood on stage and said, "I built this company from nothing. Alone. Alone." That word hit harder than I expected, because I was alone, holding everything together in the background while he played the lone genius on LinkedIn. I stopped asking questions. That's when he got comfortable. He'd thank me at dinner parties, talk about how strong women behind strong men are the real heroes. People clapped. I smiled, but I was already documenting. Every email I sent on behalf of the company, every invoice I processed, every pitch deck I rewrote for him at 3 a.m., every staff meeting I led while he posted motivational quotes on Instagram. He thought he had me where he wanted, boxed up in a perfect label with a ring on my finger and nothing on the books. But what he didn't know is that I was done wearing the labels he gave me. I didn't want to be his rock. I wanted to be recognized, and when he refused to do that, I made sure the courts would. It started with a piece of paper he left on the kitchen counter. He was rushing out for a meeting, and I guess he didn't notice it. Just a folded credit card statement under some junk mail. Normally, I wouldn't have even looked. But something made me pause. It wasn't a bill we usually get. When I opened it, my hands went cold. There were charges I didn't recognize. Thousands spent at furniture stores, boutique decor shops, and a luxury rental company I'd never heard of. The address listed wasn't ours. I checked it twice. It was a downtown apartment, high-rise, not far from where he worked, but far enough that I'd never had a reason to be in that area. I felt numb. I couldn't think straight. So I grabbed my keys. The building had a doorman, fancy lobby, and a guest sign-in system. I gave a fake name and smiled like I belonged. When the elevator doors opened, my heart was pounding so loud I thought I might throw up. I knocked once. The door opened. She couldn't have been more than 24. Long lashes, oversized hoodie, my hoodie, and barefoot with polished toes. I knew that hoodie. I bought it for myself on a weekend trip, and he always said it looked too baggy. She was wearing it like it was hers. "Oh," she said, blinking at me like I was the surprise. "You must be his wife." She said it with a laugh. That word again. Wife. Like it was something small. Like it was nothing. I didn't say anything. I just looked around her shoulder. I saw my books on the shelf. A candle I had gifted him on his birthday, now half burned on a glass coffee table I'd never seen before. It hit me like a slap. This wasn't just cheating. He had a life here. A hidden one. With my things. My money. My silence. I turned around and walked out. I didn't run. I didn't cry. By the time I reached my car, I knew what I was going to do. That was the last day I saw myself as his wife. From that moment forward, I was something else entirely. I was the storm he didn't see coming. And the influencer with the fake laugh and stolen hoodie? She gave me the final push I needed, because calling me just a wife was the last mistake either of them ever made. I didn't scream. I didn't throw his things out the window or burn the apartment down. That's what he probably expected if I ever found out. But no, I went quiet. Dangerously quiet. The next morning, while he was at the gym pretending to be the kind of man who didn't lie and cheat, I opened a new bank account under my maiden name. Then another. A small business account, just in case. I started moving tiny amounts of money, just enough to go unnoticed. A canceled subscription here, a refund there. I'd been the one managing our finances anyway. He never looked. Next, I called my cousin, the one he never liked. Said he was too aggressive. Funny, because that aggressive cousin is a corporate attorney with a background in IP law. I told him everything. He didn't flinch. He just said, "Start collecting. We'll build your case." So I did. Every old email. Every file I created. Every spreadsheet I had touched. I pulled screenshots from texts where he admitted I ran the back end. Even the thank you notes from clients he didn't know I dealt with. And I made a timeline. When I quit my job. When I funded our first product batch. When I made our website. When I stayed up for 72 hours rebranding after a launch disaster. I had no legal title. No contract. But I had digital fingerprints on everything. I even found an email chain between him and his first investor where he wrote, "We're basically co-founders. My wife runs the show behind the curtain." Bingo. The hardest part was pretending nothing had changed. I still kissed him goodbye in the mornings. Still made dinner. Still let him think I was fragile, emotional, blind. He'd tell me stories about work, brag about deals I knew I helped close, and I'd nod. Smile. Say, "That's great, babe." But in my head, I was counting down. 30 days. That's what I gave myself. I needed one more paycheck. One more week of gathering contacts. One more shot at backing up the company's server without raising suspicion. And then I was gone. Not just out the door, but strategically gone. He built a business thinking I'd never leave, because I had nothing to fall back on. What he didn't realize was that I was the fallback. I was the backup plan, the foundation, the brain. He just never thought it'd stop carrying him. I launched my brand on a Tuesday morning. No warning, no press release. Just a single post that said, "Built from scratch." Run by the woman they thought would stay silent. Within hours, it blew up. The product? It was one we'd argued over constantly. I'd wanted to release it 2 years ago. Simple, sleek, brilliant. He said it wasn't marketable and said it wouldn't fit his brand's image. Turns out he was wrong. It sold out in 6 hours. The next day, I restocked and tripled the numbers. Gone again by midnight. I didn't even have to hustle. I already had the list. The vendors. The email subscribers. The influencers I'd personally managed for years, the ones he barely remembered meeting, were more than happy to post for me. I knew every move he'd make, every ad strategy, every seasonal campaign. I knew his schedule, his habits, his weak spots. I used them all. And I didn't hide. My name was on the label. My face was on the website. I wasn't behind the curtain anymore. I was the brand. A week in, his board started asking questions. Why is engagement down? Why is she trending? Why does this product look like the one we passed on? He scrambled to respond, called his staff into meetings, blamed the algorithm, blamed the market. But everyone could see it. I had what he lost. Credibility, loyalty, fire. And I didn't need him to fall in order to rise. I was rising because I'd already done the work he pretended to own. From my new office, a small space with cracked windows and cheap furniture, but mine, I watched his empire start to crack. He tried launching a new line to compete. It flopped. His people started leaving one by one. Some came to me. I didn't even have to recruit them. They'd say things like, "It's different here. You actually listen." I did, because I remembered what it felt like to be overlooked. He used to joke that I'd never survive on my own, that I wasn't built for business. But here I was, not just surviving, thriving. And as I stood by the window of my tiny new office, watching his company's stock drop on my phone, I didn't feel sorry. I didn't feel bitter. I felt free, because that was the day I stopped waiting for recognition, and took it. He walked into the courtroom like he was about to win an award, smirking, clean-shaven, in one of those overpriced suits he used to call an investment piece. He didn't even glance at me, just sat down, legs wide, like the room belonged to him. He thought this would be easy, that the court would see me as the bitter wife trying to take what wasn't mine. He didn't know what was coming. I walked in with my lawyer and 3 binders. Each one filled to the edge, documents, emails, screenshots, contracts, photos. My lawyer called it the Bible. His face changed the moment we opened the first one. He leaned forward, confused, glanced at his own lawyer, whispered something. I saw the panic begin to crack through the cocky shell. Then came the emails, his words, in his own voice, admitting how I built things behind the scene. The budget spreadsheets I made, the vendor agreements I negotiated, the photos of me packing orders in our garage during the early days. Then my lawyer called a witness, his former assistant, now my current project manager. She walked in with confidence, took the stand, and told the court everything, how I managed the team, how I solved daily problems, how I kept everything running while he played CEO. He tried to interrupt once. The judge told him to sit down. He did. Slowly. His lawyer asked for a break. Denied. When it was over, the judge didn't need much time. She ruled in my favor. 50% of all shared assets. Retroactive compensation for 5 years of unpaid business work. Ownership of all creative and branding rights. But the best part? The company name, the brand we built from our garage, I got it. He kept the original LLC, sure, along with its $700,000 in hidden debt that he'd racked up trying to impress investors and keep his lifestyle running. As we walked out of the courtroom, he tried to say something. I didn't stop. I didn't look at him. He used to laugh and say I'd never win without him. Now he was left with bills and a logo that no longer meant anything. And I was walking out with the name he thought he owned, the team he underestimated, and a future that didn't include him at all. He used to be everywhere. Podcasts, panels, Instagram stories, all filled with slick quotes and fake hustle. Build or be forgotten, he'd post. Success is for the bold. Now he's just quiet. His Instagram, dead. Last post was a year ago. Just him in front of a rented sports car with some vague caption about greatness. Comments turned off. People stopped tagging him, stopped quoting him. The same investors who once called him a visionary now avoid his name like it's cursed. He went from promising founder to that guy who lost everything. Washed up, bad with money, toxic ex. Those are the labels he wears now. And me? I moved. New city, new place, fresh start. I got myself a tiny office with big windows and started a podcast. Just something simple at first. Conversations with women like me. Women who were underestimated, talked down to, used and erased. The first episode? I sat down with the therapist who helped me piece myself back together after everything. We talked about burnout, betrayal, and that awful feeling of doubting your own memories. It hit a nerve. People listened, shared, wrote in with their own stories. Suddenly, I had a following, not because I played the victim, but because I owned the truth. My company grew faster than I expected. The products kept selling out. Investors started calling me this time. When we finally went public, I stood in front of the cameras in a blazer he once said made me look too intimidating. I wore it like armor. I smiled, thanked my team, and talked about what it means to build something real. I never said his name. Not once. Because he doesn't matter anymore. Not in this new chapter. Not in the rooms I'm in now. Not in the voice I've found, or the confidence I've rebuilt. He's just a story I outgrew. A mistake I turned into momentum. And while he scrolls in silence, watching me succeed from the shadows, I keep moving forward, without bitterness, without apology. He once said I was just a wife. Now I'm the CEO, the founder, the name people remember. And he's just someone I used to know. After I left, he didn't waste time spinning his own version of the story. He told his friends I left because I wanted more. Said I was too ambitious, too focused on money. Said I outgrew the relationship and didn't value loyalty. To his mom, I was the ungrateful wife who forgot where we started. She'd post little digs on Facebook, vague quotes about pride and humility. I didn't respond. I didn't need to. And to his followers? Oh, he went full damage control. She changed. She got bitter. She's just crazy now. He played the heartbroken founder card, the betrayed husband who couldn't understand why everything was falling apart. Posted sad selfies, tagged mental health pages. People felt sorry for him. At first. But here's the thing. When you build your life on lies, it only takes a little truth to bring it all down. Because while he was telling stories, I had receipts. Not just the legal kind, the real kind. Old emails, voice memos, recordings of meetings where I laid out plans and he nodded like a student. Photos of whiteboards with my handwriting, calendar invites, Slack messages, even audio clips where he admitted I basically kept everything afloat. I never released any of it. I didn't have to. People started asking questions on their own. Why did the business suddenly start doing better without him? Why did his team follow me? Why was his crazy ex now running a successful company with raving fans and top-tier reviews? Turns out, karma doesn't wait for your side of the story. It just shows up, quietly, steadily, like when his top investor pulled out and joined one of my funding rounds, like when industry blogs stopped calling him visionary and started calling him controversial. He tried to get ahead of it, tried to post something about forgiveness and letting go of the past. But nobody bought it anymore, because the truth always outlasts the lies. He told people I left because I was greedy. The truth? I left because I was finally done being invisible. He told people I changed. The truth? I just stopped pretending. He told people I was ungrateful. The truth? He should have been grateful I stuck around as long as I did. Now, the only person who still listens to his version of the story is him. And me? I don't have to tell my side anymore. I'm living it. The last time I ever saw him, I wasn't looking for him. I was at a magazine shoot, one of those glossy, high-profile interviews for women in business. The kind I used to read in my old life, wondering if I'd ever be that woman. And now, there I was, in the middle of it. I wore the navy suit he once told me made me look too bossy. Said it was too sharp, too aggressive, not warm enough for a woman. I kept it anyway, and I wore it with heels and a smirk. During the interview, I laughed. For real. It wasn't forced or polite. It was free. He saw the feature a few weeks later. I know because he emailed. Subject line, proud of you. I never opened it, never replied. I didn't need to hear whatever half-empty apology or backhanded compliment he'd written. He showed up at my product launch 2 days after that. I spotted him just as he stepped onto the red carpet, trying to act like he belonged. Same smug walk, same look of confidence he used to wear when things went his way. But this time, security didn't even blink. I'd given them a list. His name was on it, in bold. They stopped him before he even made it past the door. I watched from the second floor, behind glass. He argued, tried to charm, probably used the line, "I'm the reason she's here." But it didn't work. And then, something happened that I'll never forget. A journalist standing nearby, probably someone new, saw him getting turned away. She leaned over and asked the PR girl beside her, "Wait, who is that guy?" The PR girl looked at me. I smiled. Then I walked downstairs, past the cameras, and as I passed him, I turned just enough for her to hear. "No idea," I said. "Just some guy." He froze. I didn't stop. There was no anger left in me. No sadness. No closure needed. That moment said everything. He used to believe he made me. That without him, I'd fade into the background. But I didn't just survive. I became someone he couldn't touch. He thought I'd always be just a wife. Now, he's not even a memory I hold on to. He's just some guy. And I'm the woman who walked away and built something better. Without him,